Let me open it up. We've had I think several good points and interesting takes on this. We have participants in the room, for those who are not, and let me ask if there are any sort of questions that have come up as a result of that discussion, or yep.
So a simple question. Holly, when you were talking about the various tools that you're using, any success with document assembly tools?
We're still really trying to make them work. We've been working with hot docs, and notwithstanding that my deals are all fairly the same, we have like an 80-page standard document that has several hundred fields that change every time, and that's really before you start tailoring it to be deal specific. So we're working on it. We're almost, I think, to the point where it saves us time on a regular basis.
Thank you.
But it takes a while to get the forms developed, so if you don't use them a lot, it's probably not worth doing.
Right, and that's always seems to have been the challenge with the whole document assembly environment. So, okay.
Right.
Let me ask the room, how many people who are with us here today are actually involved to some degree or another in implementing alternate fee arrangements, or actually using alternate fee arrangements with clients, or supporting excuse me, alternate fee arrangements?
Trying to get everybody.
So we'll go from left to right.
Hi, I'm Dave Cronin, Choate Hall & Stewart. I'm the revenue manager there.
All right.
And one of the things that I'm rather new, I've been with the firm about 8 months now. And one of the things I've been charged with is rolling out a standard AFA process to the partners. Biggest challenge is to get attorneys from different departments, totally different practices, to buy into this together. We're a partnership of 56 owners, and it's really trying to get them all on the same page and selling the same way is the challenge.
Yeah. Do you see that pressure coming from the client?
Yes and no. I feel like we've had a lot of experience where they've asked us to explore an AFA for them, and they go back and forth a little bit, and we show them some numbers, and ultimately they say to us, well, how about a 10% discount on standard rates? And I hear people laughing, so I know I'm not alone in that experience, that I think everybody starts to lay their cards on the table. It gets a little too complicated, so they throw their hands up and just say, let's do it the old way, but give us a break.
Yeah. So one thing I think we could do in response to your question and for support is try to understand who needs to be in the room. How do you identify the gaps that need to be sort of managed in order to allow for very effective alternate fees, fixed fees, or what else? Who do we need to talk to within the firm, and what do we need to have in place in order to get the practice going?
Yeah, that's a tightrope too, because your partner time is,
right.
It's the gold of the business, and if we're wasting it in any way, we're making our partners unhappy, and that's not what I get up in the morning to do.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and I think one of the, from the inside, and the in-house side, and the client side, is one of the things you're worried about in setting, and say you set a fixed fee, is you set it, and all of a sudden litigation drives up early. You don't want the firm to get a windfall, and then you get judged on that part, right? If you haven't managed our dollars wisely, and all of a sudden it looks like someone got more money than they should have, that does not reflect well on you. So that's one of the risks, and I think that's why you're seeing they come in and then they say, yeah, you know what, just give us 10% off, and we do that anyway.
Or we're starting to experiment with some collared deals. Yeah. So we are actually still measuring all the hours, but we're putting a hard stop at the top and a break at the bottom. Yeah. With a reward for us for being efficient.
Right, and the one example I can give is it was a relatively small, could have been a much bigger litigation, but at the end of it, I kept saying to the firm, I need your final estimate, I need you to get this thing done. And they gave me the estimate, and then they blew over it by like $40,000, and man, was I angry. And I'm not going to use them again because of that, but because you get to that point where you want to be done, the thing should be done, and they were really fighting over $10,000, and everything ended up costing me 50. So there's the efficiency side on the flip side of it is, because you have to explain it to your internal people, like, wait a minute, you were fighting what for 10,000, and how much did you spend? I mean, they don't get it. So.
Well, I think that really sort of highlights three issues that you have to consider. One is you don't have to do this all at once. You can do it in baby steps. You can say, on a given project, let's do this for a fixed fee, but everybody understands that once we reach a certain point, we might do some kind of blended arrangement where we start an hourly billing, or we have a bonus for early success or whatever it is. But as long as everybody's on the same page, and to me that's the second issue, is the communication issue. I, as a solo, am appalled by the fact that your client hit you with a $40,000 fee at the end without apprising you that they were going beyond budget. I mean, if I'm going 2 hours, well, I'm exaggerating, but if I'm going 2 hours beyond budget, I let my clients know this is taking longer than I thought, so on and so forth. To me, that's just bad business. Then the third issue is, in this economy, nobody likes to admit it, but I have no shame and I'll say it anywhere, the receivables of all the firms have gone through the roof. Firms that used to have clients paying on a regular basis without even thinking about it are now struggling to get their clients to pay. And the other thing is the clients are now actually reading the bills, which they didn't used to do before. And I have friends in consulting who are experiencing the same thing. They would, submit a bill, it was paid 30 days later, that was the end of it. Now all of a sudden they're looking and saying, hey, why did you have a partner doing X when I know damn well that an associate could have done X? And I know I said three things, I'm going to say one more, which is the billable hour model is all wrong, because what it does is it rewards you for having the partners put in as much time as they can, when really the model should be doing things in the most efficient way possible to save money.
But yeah, Greg and I were talking about how it does. It rewards inefficiency. We often measure our attorneys on the number of hours they bill in a year. So, I mean, there's incentive right there to bang in more hours. And it's hard to change this whole model, particularly in big partnerships. It's a real struggle.
Yeah.
Just three thoughts for you when it comes to how you could maybe start to pick away at making that change happen. One is, on a firm-wide level, before you try to move everybody to action, you just need to generally create awareness. So having information presented, having conversations going on, finding out who's going to be interested, who's not, is one of the first broad level things you can consider. Another one is, think about where the best business driver is. An existing partner with an existing account who's been billing hourly is maybe not the best driver to say, let's do an alternative fee. But a new account that the firm's not doing any business with, and you're doing new account acquisition and penetration, might be the one that says, well, hey, if an alternative fee could get us in the door there, could get us something to do, then we're all going to be willing to adopt it more, right? The third thing, and I think Holly's had some experience with this at Squire, is find little pilot projects. So it's maybe not necessary to move the whole firm at one time, but the one partner who's trying to build their practice and they're interested in taking on a new approach to doing it, could be a pilot opportunity for how to get in and do it. And when you start to have little pilots begin to succeed, everybody's going to start looking around going, well, I want to be able to get what he's getting. You picked up 3 new accounts and brought them into the firm in the last year. How did he do that? Well, might have done it through some approach of using an alternative fee. So just when you're thinking about tactically how to start.
That is happening. And, we've had great success, particularly in the IP practice, because some of those patent filings are pretty routine, uniform. We can really judge what it takes to do. But then we start to get into litigation where it can really go down such a variety of paths that it's a crapshoot. It's a risk. We had a pitch we did recently that failed because we were so nervous that we tried to account for everything, and our bid was the highest, so we were out.
I don't want to stop the discussion, but I want to have other people.
I won't hog
so
anymore.
let's move the mic across. If you have something to say, take it. Yeah, let's. Right. And let's also, I'll just throw something else to get things even more confused, and that is think about what your expectations, because this is ILTA, what your expectations are now of technology, of systems, of support, how that comes in to the whole AFA. Not to take you off track, but go ahead, David.
Raphael, it's David Hobby from Goodwin Procter. I was actually going to go back to the issue that was raised really in the first couple presentations, which was around communications with a client. Holly, you talked about how your clients were very resistant to having a detailed scope of work. And Andre, you mentioned, by contrast, with your construction clients, they were thrilled to have a detailed scope of work. That's totally what they were used to in their own business. Perhaps that was why, but I was wondering if there are any more thoughts, any more reactions from the panel around getting a clients to adopt a scope of work where previously they just had a letter of engagement.
I think if you're going to get a client to do anything, you have to be able to show what the benefit to them is. And you talked a little bit about kind of explaining the process in advance to them. So I think a lot of clients work with any type of professional service expert because they're looking for not only the outcome and the result, but they're looking for some education, some guidance. The analogy of being a drug dealer, you don't want to just give them a taste and have them hooked. They're kind of interested in getting what they need and having you get out. So when you come to a situation like a client in construction versus a client in what Holly's dealing with, you have to decide, well, what is it that they're motivated by? If they're motivated by understanding the process and having control about it, then you might want to go through the process of telling them that and really detailing out the scope of work. If they're not, what you might want to key in on is that they want certainty of timeline of deliverable. Well, you maybe don't go through all the detail of the scope of work, but say, listen, if we want to be certain that we can get this done by May, then this is the kind of upfront detailed preparation that we need to do. So generally speaking, I'd say find what the client is interested in as a benefit. Don't necessarily completely change the approach, but just highlight the piece of the approach that's going to touch on what they care about.
Well, and I suppose it might also be that the client really wants consistency in the amount of billing, for instance, over a certain time period or something like that, where, well, they need to, every quarter, they need to have the maximum amount be X. And we would know that unless you had a conversation with the in-house person about that, right? But